For years, James and Evelyn Carter had endured the subtle and not-so-subtle indignities of living in a small town where their skin color made them targets. They were used to the sideways glances, the whispered comments, and occasional overt hostility. But one humid summer evening in 2023, two local police officers took it too far, harassing the elderly black couple in their own driveway over a suspicious vehicle that was their own car. The officers' aggression was nothing new in their town, but this time they didn't count on the Carter's son, Marcus, a Marine Corps veteran, pulling up just as the situation escalated. What happened next turned a routine encounter into a reckoning that exposed a rot in the town's police force and changed the community forever. James Carter, 72, and Evelyn Carter, 69, had lived in the small town of Oak Ridge, Georgia, for over 4 decades. They'd raised 3 children in their modest 2-story home, paid their taxes, and attended church every Sunday. James was a retired mechanic, known for fixing neighbors' cars for free when they couldn't afford to shop. Evelyn had been a schoolteacher, beloved by generations of students for her patience and sharp wit. Despite their contributions, the Carters were no strangers to the town's undercurrent of racism. Oak Ridge was a place where Confederate flags still flew on some lawns, and the police department had a reputation for targeting black residents with little provocation. That evening, James and Evelyn had just returned from a grocery run. It was around 7:30 p.m., the sun dipping low, casting long shadows across their quiet street. They were unloading bags from their 2010 Honda Accord when a patrol car pulled up. 2 officers, Officer Daniel Hargrove and Officer Michael Tate, stepped out. Both were white in their 30s and known in the community for their heavy-handed tactics. Hargrove, the senior of the 2, approached with swagger, his hand resting on his holster. "Whose car is this?" Hargrove demanded, pointing at the Accord. James, standing by the trunk, straightened up slowly. His back ached from years of bending over engines, but he kept his voice steady. "It's ours. Been ours for years." Hargrove smirked, glancing at Tate. "We got a call about a suspicious vehicle. You got ID to prove this is yours." Evelyn, holding a bag of groceries, stepped forward. "We don't need to prove anything. This is our property, and that's our car, registered in our name." Tate, shorter and stockier, chimed in. "Ma'am, you need to calm down. We're just doing our job." The Carters had heard this line before. Doing our job was code for harassment in Oak Ridge. James reached for his wallet, but Hargrove raised a hand. "Slowly now. Don't want any sudden moves." The condescension in his tone was unmistakable. James, his hand steady despite the insult, handed over his driver's license. Hargrove barely glanced at it before tossing it back. Registration. Insurance. Now. Evelyn's patience was wearing thin. "You've got no right to treat us like criminals in our own driveway. We haven't done anything wrong." Hargrove's eyes narrowed. "You getting mouthy with me? We can take this down to the station, if you prefer." The threat hung in the air. Neighbors peeked through curtains, but no one came out. This was Oak Ridge. After all, people knew better than to get involved when the police targeted someone black. James put a hand on Evelyn's arm, urging her to stay calm. They'd been through this before, and they knew escalation only made things worse. But the officers weren't done. Tate began circling the car, peering inside, while Hargrove peppered them with questions about where they'd been, what they were doing, and whether they had anything illegal in the vehicle. That's when a black SUV pulled into the driveway. The door opened, and Marcus Carter stepped out. At 35, Marcus was tall, broad-shouldered, and carried himself with the disciplined posture of a man who'd served 2 tours in Afghanistan. His Marine Corps training had instilled in him a calm under pressure, but the sight of his parents being interrogated in their own driveway ignited a quiet fury. He was in town for a rare visit, having driven down from Atlanta, where he worked as a security consultant. He hadn't expected to walk into this. "Mom, Dad, you okay?" Marcus asked, his voice low but firm. Hargrove turned, sizing him up. "Who are you?" "I'm their son," Marcus said, stepping closer. "What's going on here?" Tate, still by the car, spoke up. "This doesn't concern you. Step back." "It concerns me when you're harassing my parents," Marcus replied. His tone was even, but there was steel in it. He noticed the way Hargrove's hand twitched toward his holster, a subtle challenge. Marcus didn't flinch. He'd faced worse than small-town cops in his years of service. "We're investigating a suspicious vehicle," Hargrove said, doubling down. "You need to stay out of this." Marcus glanced at the Accord, then back at the officers. "That's their car. I've seen the title myself. You got a warrant to be searching it?" Hargrove's face reddened. "We don't need a warrant to check out a suspicious vehicle." "Then you're fishing," Marcus said. He pulled out his phone and started recording. "I'm documenting this. Names and badge numbers, please." Tate laughed, a nervous edge to it. "You think you're smart, huh?" "I think I know my rights," Marcus said. "And I know you're out of line. You got my father's ID. You've got no probable cause. So unless you've got something concrete, you need to leave." The officers exchanged a glance. They weren't used to pushback, especially not from someone like Marcus, who carried an authority they couldn't dismiss. Hargrove tried to regain control. "You better watch your tone, boy." The word hit like a spark in dry grass. Evelyn gasped softly, and James's jaw tightened. Marcus's eyes darkened, but he didn't raise his voice. "Call me that again, and we'll have a problem. I'm a Marine, not your boy." The tension was palpable now. Neighbors were openly watching from their porches. Hargrove, sensing the shift, tried to backtrack. "Look, we're just doing our job. No need to make this a thing." "Then do your job somewhere else," Marcus said. "You've got no business here." After a long pause, Hargrove muttered something about keeping an eye out and motioned for Tate to follow him back to the patrol car. They drove off, tires squealing slightly, a petty show of power. Marcus kept recording until they were out of sight. Evelyn let out a shaky breath. "Thank you, Marcus. I don't know what we'd have done if you hadn't shown up." James nodded, his face grim. "They've been pulling this nonsense for years. Getting worse lately." Marcus pocketed his phone. "This isn't over. They don't get to treat you like that and walk away." That night, the Carters sat around the kitchen table, the groceries still unpacked. Marcus listened as his parents recounted years of similar incidents. Traffic stops for no reason, random checks at the grocery store, snide comments from officers like Hargrove and Tate. Marcus had heard some of these stories growing up, but the military had taken him away from Oak Ridge, shielding him from the day-to-day reality his parents faced. Now, seeing it firsthand, he was determined to act. The next morning, Marcus drove to the Oak Ridge Police Department. He didn't go in guns blazing. Marines didn't operate that way. Instead, he requested a meeting with the chief, Paul Whitaker. Whitaker was a portly man in his 50s, with a reputation for avoiding conflict. Marcus laid out what had happened, calm but direct, and played the video from his phone. Whitaker shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Looks like a misunderstanding," Whitaker said. "My officers were just following protocol." "Protocol does include harassing innocent people," Marcus replied. "I want a formal complaint filed against Hargrove and Tate, and I want to know what you're going to do about it." Whitaker promised to look into it, but Marcus wasn't satisfied. He knew how small towns worked. Complaints like this were often swept under the rug. So he took the next step. He contacted a friend from his Marine days, Jamal Wright, who now worked as a civil rights attorney in Atlanta. Jamal agreed to take on the case, pro bono, and advised Marcus to go public. Marcus hesitated. His parents were private people, wary of drawing attention. But Evelyn was resolute. "If we don't speak up, they'll keep doing this to others," she said. James agreed, though he worried about retaliation. With their blessing, Marcus reached out to a local journalist, Sarah Ellis, who worked for the Oak Ridge Gazette. Sarah had a reputation for digging into stories the town's power structure preferred to ignore. Sarah met with the Carters and reviewed Marcus's video. She was appalled but not surprised. She'd heard whispers about Hargrove and Tate before, stories of excessive force, racial profiling, and intimidation. She published an article detailing the incident, including stills from Marcus's video. The story went viral, picked up by regional news outlets, and shared widely on social media. Suddenly, Oak Ridge was in the spotlight, and not in a flattering way. The backlash was swift. Protesters gathered outside the police station, demanding accountability. Community leaders, including the pastor of the Carter's church, organized a town hall meeting. Whitaker, under pressure, suspended Hargrove and Tate pending an investigation. But Marcus and Jamal knew suspensions weren't enough. They filed a federal civil rights complaint, alleging a pattern of discriminatory policing in Oak Ridge.